Hello and welcome to my thoughts on My Little Pony Legends of Magic Annual 2018. And here we are, Legends of Magic has finally concluded. If you haven't read it yet, you can click here and I'll read it for you. Alright, everyone ready? Let's go. So, our story starts off at Canterlot Castle. Starswirl is teaching Celestia all about interdimensional portals. And this time, it's not because Celestia and Luna were fucking around with Starswirl's spellbook and almost killed themselves. Wow. It's nice to see Starswirl filling his role as mentor. Unfortunately, this is also where we run into my biggest problem with this whole story. This story is full of long, rambling monologues. And just to clarify, I do not mean this opening scene right here. While this opening scene is, in fact, a monologue, it is a self-aware monologue, and it's used as a joke. Celestia asks about the mirrors, then Starswirl goes off about the intricacies of this portal stuff, blah 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 blah, cartography, blah blah, two planes, blah, dimensional rotation, blah blah blah, huh? What was I talking about? The mirror, Starswirl! And not only is it funny, it describes the complexity of this portal spell, which is very relevant to the plot at hand. It's this following scene that starts to give me problems. And it plays out basically the same as the opening scene. Isn't that dangerous? Blah 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 studying, blah 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 firm believer, blah 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 sand, blah 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 doorway in midair, blah 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 trees. Isn't that dangerous? Not to say the scene is bad, as I do enjoy the world building and characterization it brings to Starswirl and Celestia's relationship. I just think it could be done in a few less sentences. And this is the least offensive of the monologues, to be fair. But anyway, Luna finally shows up. And once again, we replay that opening scene, but in a fun and charming way. What are these things, Starswirl? They're mirrors, you dumb bitch. Maybe you should try looking in one for once. But this time, instead of Starswirl answering the question, Luna poses her own. If they are mirrors, why are they not reflecting anything? Which Celestia herself had failed to notice. Celestia thought they were weird because Starswirl had so many, not because she noticed anything particularly off about them. And then the shadows attack, but we'll get to that in a second. This scene with Celestia and Luna, besides being charming, introduces the theme of this story, arrogance. Continuing off of Legends of Magic 1, Celestia is arrogant. Even though she just learned what these mirrors were 5 minutes ago, she immediately throws that lack of knowledge at Luna as soon as she walks in, despite Luna being the one to notice that these mirrors weren't actually mirroring anything. And now, the shadows attack. While both Luna and Celestia are taken back by this, Starswirl does not hesitate. He immediately jumps in front of the girls and starts kicking their asses. All while giving a cool speech about how he is the protector of Equestria, and no matter how many enemies there are, he'll defeat them all! There's no way they can win. But unfortunately, these shadows are not here to win. They will sacrifice as many troops as needed to achieve their goal, capture the princesses. And also, unfortunately, Starswirl cannot back his claim that he shall repel the attack no matter how many they send. And in a big symbolic tornado, Starswirl is defeated by his own attack, which launches his own dimensional portal at himself, leaving the princesses all alone. But hey, they're not out for the count yet. They have Celestia still. While initially the ambush left Celestia in shock, Starswirl's speech motivated her, and the young princess begins emulating her mentor. Not just his actions, but his words. Pew pew pew! Get back, foul creatures! Which is how Starswirl addresses the Golem in Legends of Magic 1, and the Sirens in Legends of Magic 12. Unfortunately, in this story, he just says creature, not foul creature. That's a real miss. But anyway, on a side note, Luna's mastered the bubble. Oh, that's some nice world building. Anyway, Celestia, after Starswirl gets zooped to another world, continues in his stead. While Luna starts crying, Celestia decides to give her own epic speech. I am Celestia, queen of the heavens, and I shall destroy you! But unlike Starswirl, she is nowhere near powerful enough to back up her claims, and immediately gets yoinked. And it kind of looks like Luna just jumps in after her, but maybe she's being carried, I don't know. And that is the introduction to this story. and I love it. With the exception of the pacing in this one scene, I really think this is a perfect intro. It is a fluid mix of characterization and plot development and fun and action, and the way the theme of arrogance is just woven in is just so well done. Not to just gush over this, but this is actually somewhat high quality, which is a phrase I don't think I've ever said before in one of these videos. Nice. Anyway, after that beautiful introduction, we now have a second introduction. Yay! As we reunite with our main cast of characters, and of course, our main boy, Stygian. But before we can get to Stygian, Flash Magnus has a huge monologue, and then Stila has a huge monologue, and then it's a race, fume, and Flash Magnus flies away, and this all takes place over 3 whole pages. Wow. And this is where my sanity drains. It's not just that it's 3 pages, it's that it's nearly 3 minutes of just straight monologuing, and oh my god, the brain rot is setting in. That's why I put a timestamp in the video, so you know when the monologuing finally ends. And the sad thing is, these 3 pages can easily be condensed to 1 and still retain the important elements, because as slow and boring as this whole segment here is, it is great world building. It's nice that they're showing the Royal Legion and the Mighty Helm training together, especially after Flash Magnus' comment in issue 11. Pegasi are always going to be on our own. And it also continues the theme of arrogance. Flash not thinking there's a reason for him to join in on the training exercise. Fortunately, this is the worst of the monologuing, and thank God we're past it. And finally, here is Stygian, our main character, trying to flex his knowledge and research over Miss Maine's experience. Ah, arrogance. Meanwhile, Flash goes on his volcano obstacle course, and Somnambula is there, and it's very funny, and then starswirl pops in and fills our cast in on the plot so far. Before we go on to the next part of the story, I just want to talk about this scene right here with starswirl popping into the volcano and almost dying. It does a very good job of portraying the difficulties with this portal spell. You know, the thing he was telling Celestia all about at the beginning of the story. But instead of long blocks of text, it is a very concise, simple demonstration. He exclaims, "I found you," and then simply collapses. He was thrown into a random world. So all this stuff he goes on about at the beginning, about knowing the cartography of the land, and the dimensional relationship between the 2 worlds, you just had to guess. How many tries did it take to not only find his world, but find one of his friends in his world? Because he is clearly so much more exhausted than he was during the battle. And the second problem with the portal spell is, it's not in a specific location of his choice. In this case, it is in midair over a pit of lava. Oh, no wonder he uses the mirrors. This portal spell sucks. And with that, introduction number 2 is complete. And now that the whole party is here, we can shift focus to Stygian, who immediately starts yelling at starswirl. He is pissed, and uses starswirl's arrogance as the reason, calling him out for trying to save the girls by himself, for opening portals to other worlds in the first place, and even twists starswirl's words to take a jab at his intelligence. And then makes the amazing excuse, "What? Everyone was thinking it!" We have finally found the true theme of this story, Stygian's arrogance. And along with the shift in focus to Stygian, there's a shift in the way starswirl is portrayed. As soon as Act 2 begins, he shows humility. "I don't know how it happened. It was like they've been waiting. I'm not sure I deserve to feel better. I may have doomed Equestria." And although he made some arrogant statements at the beginning, he is not an arrogant character. While Stygian is worried about starswirl saving the princesses by himself and taking all of the glory that comes with it, starswirl is worried about his friends putting themselves in danger because of his own mistake. And fun fact, starswirl is the only character to say friend in this story. Well, besides Shadow Stygian talking about killing his friends. A clear contrast between what friend means to starswirl and what it means to Stygian. Other than some cool writing stuff, we get some cool references like the Oat Boat Challenge winner. Wow, because it's not Legends of Magic if we're not reminded that Rockhoof ate an entire boat full of oats, is it? But to be fair, maybe that's my fault. Maybe I just ad-lib Rockhoof talking about the Oat Boat Challenge way too much, and it's not actually in the script. I don't know, everything blends together in my head. Also, this little Flash Magnus panel, that's funny. Also, this dialogue between Miss Maid and Starswirl. It is difficult to say what a pony might do, were they given the right provocation. Such as, oh, I don't know, throwing your best friend into a volcano. Stygian! Good foreshadowing. And then after that, we're at Canterlot Castle, where, of course, Rockhoof has to be the one clowning around, get him bonked on the head. Classic Rockhoof. And then we hit a little writing speed bump, as Starswirl has to explain to the new cast. He doesn't know where in the world the portal will open up, and if the portal closes without you, Starswirl might never find you again. Blah 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 stuff he already told Celestia at the beginning of the story. So it's a little annoying that we the reader have to sit through these explanations again. But, you know, at least when Starswirl had to explain to Stygian and friends what happened to Celestia and Luna, we didn't have to sit through that. I don't really get why we split into groups before we cross the portal. There really isn't a precedent for it. And later when Starswirl says, let's split off into groups, because they had already split into groups prior to crossing the portal, there had to be one extra sentence. We'll remain in the groups in which we crossed. If they had just split up into groups now, they could have just written one whole less sentence. That's just inefficient. But then again, over-dramatizing the portal crossing did make it a good place for me to end the first video. So, I mean, it all worked out in the end, even if it doesn't quite make sense. And now we enter the heart of this story. A little hangout sesh with Stygian and Rockhoof. Hell yeah.
Hey, little buddy. You doing okay?
No, Starswirl's being a douche. I want to be remembered for bringing together the pillars and helping save the princesses.
Well, I was never in this for fame. I was in this for you.
Oh, Rockhoof, he's too precious for this world. So after the gang splits up, Stygian and Rockhoof have a nice little chat. And the only thing I really want to call out is this line Stygian says. Starswirl is so good at seeming like he knows what he's talking about. Maybe it's the beard. This is so backhanded. Yeah, Starswirl, he's good at seeming like he knows what the hell's going on, but, you know, it's gotta be that beard. That's why people trust and listen to him.
Oh, that must be my problem.
Stygian really does not like Starswirl at this point. And then some little buggies appear and start clowning on Rockhoof. Meanwhile, Somnambula, Meadowbrook, and Miss Main are walking along the forest. And Miss Main is pissed. Remember, she can listen to plants, so what are they saying to her? Because she really hates this place. Ultimately, this little section doesn't add anything plot-wise, but, you know, it's fun, it's entertaining. Somnambula decapitating the bear, that's funny. And having Miss Main talk about the corrupted forest, that's cool. Considering this scene isn't about Stygian, Rockhoof, Stygian, or Starswirl, they make good use of these characters. Unlike Flash, who's just kind of here. Kinda seems like he cannot deal with silence, as he is constantly pestering Starswirl with questions. And Starswirl's just like, no, I'm concentrating. Yes, not really. No, him. And then Flash gets shot in the back. And with that, he has fulfilled his role of forcing Starswirl to talk to the audience, I guess. I don't know. And now we are introduced to alternate Stygian, and some questions about this world finally come to light. So we are in an alternate Equestria. I guess that's pretty par for the course. Anytime Starswirl opens a dimension, it's always alternate Equestria. It's also like a little bit in the future, as our Stygian obviously hasn't been exiled yet. But the twist is, in this world, Stygian beat the pillars. Yay! And based on what he tells Rockhoof, it seems like he didn't engage in a big battle like our Stygian will eventually do. It more so seems like Stygian did in Among Us, and just casually took them off in the background instead of engaging them all at the same time. Hence, Rockhoof had an accident. I really like Starswirl's line here. You may defeat me. Unlike when he was fighting the hordes of shadows at the beginning, there was no overconfidence in his words. Just a vow. I will not lose until I rescue those girls. This scene is where Stygian's misconceptions about starswirl really shine, while Stygian be like, man, starswirl's only good quality is that beard. Starswirl's over here, ready to put his life on the line for Celestia and Luna. Ponies don't listen to starswirl because of his sick beard, it's because of his words and actions and convictions behind them. Even Stygian's reply to this, shows that starswirl is willing to die for them. We don't know too much about this world, but from what alternate Stygian does tell us, he saw that Celestia and Luna could be corrupted, and he wanted them to join him. Then starswirl swoops in, and says, you may defeat me, but not until I have rescued those girls. And he successfully does save them, seemingly by sending them to another world, as they're currently not here to be corrupted. And then Stygian says that those were starswirl's last words. Fortunately for our starswirl, our Stygian distracts alternate Stygian by finding the princesses. And with that, we have entered the final monologue. Looks can be deceiving, blah blah blah, infinite power, blah blah blah, daybreaker, blah blah, unlock that power, blah blah, Luna opened a path, blah blah. Oh my god, Stygian. And then he has the gall to recap the first 3 pages. We know what happened. Rockhoof knows what happened. Oh, you don't have to remind us that you waited for them and then you captured them. And you already told us you planned on corrupting them so they would be destructive. You don't need to tell us again. Oh my god. This is a 50-second monologue. There's so much fluff, did he really have to name drop Nightmare Moon and Daybreaker? Side note, I love that Starlight's fever dream of a nightmare is canon in this world, apparently. You can literally delete half of the sentences from this speech and lose nothing. His next line is pretty good, though. Rockhoof, you are the only one I miss. Unfortunately, I had to push my Rockhoof into the volcano. Man, no wonder our Stygian lost. Everyone knows you gotta kill your best friend if you want true power. I also really like this exchange between Rockhoof and Stygian here. What kind of big, bad pony kidnaps little fillies? The irony being it's his little best buddy standing right behind him. And then the whole squad arrives to save the day. And Rockhoof stands up for Stygian, aww. Even though earlier Rockhoof said it wasn't his place to question starswirl since he was a simple warrior, here he is speaking up for Stygian. God, I love Rockhoof. And starswirl doesn't question the plan one bit. He simply confirms with Stygian, are you up to the task? Showing his faith in Stygian to uphold his promise, I will rescue those girls. Plus, it does make sense to send Stygian into the back lines, since alternate Stygian is probably too busy getting off on the despair of watching his friends die again, and would easily notice if one of them was trying to sneak in the back. And he does it. Stygian just kinda casually runs up, does a little dodge roll, and makes it to the princesses. Not that Stygian has a plan for when he gets this far, he just, engages in combat. Which he would almost definitely 100% certainly lose. But luckily, the fabric of space-time begins to implode when their beams collide, knocking them both away from each other. I mean, I think that's what happened. That's how I see the scene. I don't know why else the beams would just explode on impact. And then alternate Stygian commands his ogre to grab the princesses. Then pew, Stygian swoops in with a save. Throw them to starswirl! And that's how Stygian saved the day. The end. This was such a good issue. For a lot of reasons. Let's start with starswirl. So I know I've been calling Stygian our main boy throughout this, but he really does share the spotlight with starswirl. One very obvious but also very forgettable detail about this story, it is the only Legends of Magic without a narrator. The first 6 were narrated by starswirl, and the latter 6 were narrated by Stygian. So the fact that this story is not narrated immediately caught my attention. Cause I mean, this story is still a book Sunburst is reading, written by Stygian, but we don't get Stygian's narration this time because this isn't simply his story, it's also starswirl's. We open with starswirl. Starswirl is responsible for the princesses getting taken. He's the one who informs the pillars of what happened. He's the only one who can open a portal to the dimension. He is the one alternate Stygian chooses to fight. Starswirl is the one who undergoes change. And while Stygian obviously does undergo change, it's not in this story. Near the beginning of this story, starswirl calls the pillars and Stygian friends, but he clearly doesn't put much stock into that word. He doesn't think they can handle it. He doesn't trust them. And this is what Celestia means, when she tells Twilight after Twilight becomes an alicorn, when she says starswirl didn't understand friendship. And to be fair, he barely knows these ponies on a personal level. He is very interested in researching them in hopes to make what will someday be the Tree of Harmony. And that is his goal, to keep Equestria safe, and to cultivate the next generation to protect it after he's gone. All the way back in Legends of Magic 1, starswirl says this: "I must teach both of you as much as I can. There is no telling how long we'll have together. When a crisis arises, I may be called on to deal with it, and someday I might not return." In starswirl's mind, protecting Equestria is his sole duty. He does not have time to simply hang out with friends. Contrast that with the rest of the pillars, who are chillin' hanging out while the princesses are currently being kidnapped. And it's this failure that convinces him to accept the help of others. And because of their help, starswirl is able to keep his vow, "I will protect those girls." Back in issue 1, he also tells Luna this: "If your best is not good enough, you must find a new best." Look at all of starswirl's dialogue after saving the princesses. "I failed them today. We are going to make sure it never returns to this world. Rockhoof, would your shovel do the honors?" And he finishes with, "Perhaps I need more research before attempting this again." Starswirl is starting to find a new best. He's starting to find friendship. Starswirl is a character who finds great merit in self-improvement. Although he's confident in his abilities, it does not shroud him from seeing his own flaws, and constantly works to improve himself. And with all that in mind, we can now look at Stygian. Stygian too is a character who wants to improve himself, but his desire is nothing like starswirl's, because the way Stygian sees it is not self-improvement. It's more like fixing what is broken. He is quick to devalue his ability and his contributions, which is the result of bringing the pillars together. As seen in issues 7 through 12, as Stygian recruited more teammates, he found himself being less and less useful, all culminating with the final recruit, starswirl. With starswirl on the team, Stygian truly felt like he had nothing left to offer, and this is the flaw Stygian hopes to improve: his worthlessness. That is why he is so sharp with starswirl. Stygian blames him for his own self-loathing. Stygian wants to be a hero, and that is his driving force in this story. While starswirl wants to save the princesses, Stygian wants the glory of saving the princesses. He wants to show the world he is not useless. The kicker being, no one around him thinks he's useless, but he has it in his mind starswirl is trying to stop him. "You stop right there. This is what the pillars are for. You are not the only clever one. You exposed them to unthinkable danger? They deserved better." And thank God for Rockhoof, he can see Stygian's pain. I feel the same way about starswirl sometimes. And the thing about Rockhoof, much like starswirl, he is a pony who puts great value in self-improvement. That is what his legend is all about. In Legends of Magic 2, after joining the Mighty Helm, Rockhoof stops training, and he loses so much progress, he basically is about to be kicked out. Rockhoof learns that simply achieving your dream isn't enough. You need to prove to yourself that you've earned it. And Rockhoof tries to pass this on to Stygian. Starswirl's a guy with big plans and lots of book learning. If some pony like you had plans too, I might listen to those. To Rockhoof, starswirl has earned his right to lead, and tries to tell Stygian that he too has what it takes, unlike Rockhoof, who is just a soldier. But all this just flies right past Stygian. "You have a beard and doubled in size randomly at the same time. If I had that kind of luck, oh boy howdy, ponies would listen to me." Well, I mean, that's what I think Stygian would say if he didn't get interrupted by the bugs. But the point being, Rockhoof may have grown a beard and doubled in size, but he put in the days, the weeks, the months of hard-ass work, proving himself to the mighty helm. And Stygian, on the other hand, we know, ultimately decides it's better to take his friend's power than to find his own. And that is the point the story is trying to bring Stygian to. And I think it does a fantastic job. Which brings us to the lightning bug attack. Stygian is just sitting there watching until Rockhoof's like, "Yo, Stygian, do something, please." A very strong disparity from when Stygian and Rockhoof first met. And finally, the very moment Stygian has been waiting for, he lucks into an amazing ability. He can command these insects. He knows it's luck. He calls it so himself. But just like Rockhoof, luckily doubling in size, he has found his in to being a hero. And the manner in which he discovers his power is amazing, through sheer, unadulterated cowardice. And almost immediately, you can just see the confidence in his eyes. All coming to a head with Stygian's rescue of the princesses. "I'll get them." And he confidently runs across the battlefield, knowing none of the dumb monsters can even touch him. Until he gets to the princesses, when he's like, what do I do now? It really does not seem like he had any sort of plan besides wildly running. Then he turns up to alternate Stygian. "I'm not used to being special, so I'm gonna enjoy it while I can." And just shoots him like a madman. Absolutely no regard for his life. But hey, that lightning bug couldn't touch him. I bet this dumbass can't touch him either. And once again, luck is on Stygian's side, as their beams explode on impact. Stygian is truly untouchable. Then he turns around to alternate Stygian. "Get wrecked, idiot!" And with that, Stygian has gotten his first win. But it is a bittersweet ending for our hero. While it's true he got what he wanted, unlike Rockhoof, he did not earn it. But the sweet taste of victory is too much to handle. I would do anything to do it again. By claiming his first real victory with a shortcut, he is doomed to walk down the same path as his alternate self. TLDR, Starswirl is starting to find faith in friends, and Stygian wants to find fast, easy sources of power. That's one of the main reasons I like this story, how well those two characters are written. It's also pretty funny, and there's a lot of cool moments. Besides the various pacing of some monologues, the only real thing I wish this story had was more Luna. For multiple reasons. One, I like baby Luna. I enjoy when she is on screen. 2, she and Celestia have a comparable relationship to Starswirl and Stygian. Celestia is both stronger and a faster learner than Luna, and although indirectly, this causes Luna to be angry with her sister. But thanks to Starswirl's guidance, both sisters are able to better themselves. He motivates Luna to push herself even further beyond and find a new best, while he tells Celestia, "The truly strong do not regard weakness and effort with derision, but with encouragement and compassion." Which, keeping that statement in mind, tells you how Starswirl truly feels about Stygian. And the result of this tutelage is Celestia helps Luna train, shown in this issue by Luna's mastery of the bubble spell. Which is why I think it would be nice if this story included a conclusion to Luna's little character arc, the one that she has in Legends of Magic 1 and continues in Legends of Magic 3. Also, look at the way these sets of ponies act when confronted with battle. Starswirl, with both the Shadows and alternate Stygian, jumps into battle ready to give his life protecting the princesses. Celestia copies Starswirl and begins fighting. Stygian stands there watching until Rockhoof yells for help. Then immediately, "No, don't touch me!" Luna literally cries. But although both Luna and Stygian are afraid in this situation, there is one key difference. Stygian is selfish. "Don't shock me." While Luna, "Please, I do not want to hurt you. Leave her alone. It is me you want anyway," is selfless. The point I was getting at, I would like to see a conclusion to Luna's character arc, where she is able to, at least for now, hold off corruption. And we can easily free up the space for that by condensing this long 3-page Royal Legion training sesh into one page. Because truly, did we need 3 whole pages to get the point across? Creating the scene would also allow us to cut up alternate Stygian's monologue to Rakov about his big evil plans, put some of that up there in these Luna scenes, while also showing him starting to corrupt Celestia while she's knocked out. Alternate Stygian sure does love telling us about his plans. It would be nice if we could just simply see them a little instead. So yeah, TLDR, if I could make changes to this story, I would erase and rearrange some dialogue and give Luna a proper conclusion. That being said, I greatly adored this story. I'm just gonna say it now, 10 out of 10, best comic so far that I've read. Cool concept, good writing, great character moments, just an overall fun time. I could definitely talk more, but I am not going to. This has been long enough. Alright, real quick, art changes. 1. This narration box is simply colored wrong. 2. I didn't like how this Pegasus is the exact same color as Flash Magnus when Flash Magnus is right there, so I changed his color. 3. In this panel right here, I just gave everyone a tiny little smile, just so they didn't look so dead inside. I also slightly moved Somnambula's eyes, because I just felt like they were slightly too far apart. I don't know. And 4, not really a change, but I made this panel. This is not a real panel. I just made it because this is what I used to end the first part. So they walk through the portal, bam, they're gone, video ends. It just felt like a necessary addition, so I made it. Art changes done. So those have been my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and until next time.